Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're going to talk about something super powerful in management, but honestly, it's often the one nobody thinks about. We're talking about organizing. Think of it as the secret sauce that actually makes a great plan, well, succeed. Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever seen a brilliant plan just completely fall apart? You're on a team, the idea is genius, but when it comes to actually doing it, it's a total mess. Like, you've got the perfect strategy, right? All the goals are crystal clear, every target is mapped out. On paper, it looks foolproof. You're thinking, there's no way this can fail. And then reality hits, and it's just total chaos. Nobody's sure who's doing what, people aren't talking to each other, and that amazing plan just dissolves. I think we've all been there, and man, is it frustrating. All right, so let's get into why that happens. Because, spoiler alert, it's usually not a bad plan. Nope, the problem is almost always something else. I love this analogy from sports. Picture a football coach with a genius playbook. I mean, the plays are a work of art. But if the players on the field don't know their positions, or who they're supposed to block, or how to signal each other, that playbook is totally useless. And you know what? That exact same thing happens in offices and companies every single day. Okay, so if the problem is a lack of organization, then the solution has to be, well, organizing. So let's really break down what that means. Why is this the blueprint for actually getting stuff done? Basically, organizing is the function where you build the whole framework for success. You're arranging all the pieces, the people, the money, the tasks, to turn that idea on a whiteboard into something real. This is where the strategy actually starts to get its hands dirty. And to see just how critical it is, look at where it fits in the four main functions of management. You've got planning, then organizing, then leading, and finally controlling. It's that crucial step too. You can't lead anyone, you can't control anything, if you haven't first organized how it's all going to work. A really good way to think about it is like a bridge. On one side of the canyon, you've got your plan. That's what we want to do. And way over on the other side are your results. Organizing, that's the bridge that gets you across. Without it, your great idea is just stuck on one side with no way to get to the finish line. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What does a manager actually do when they're organizing? What are the specific things they're doing to build that bridge we just talked about? Well, it really starts with two main things. First, you've got resource distribution. That's just deciding who gets what, the money, the computers, the tools they need. And second, you define the roles. And this is more than just a job title. It's about making it super clear who owns what, so you don't have two people doing the same job, or worse, some really important task that nobody is doing. Then you build on that with coordination. I mean, it's great that everyone knows their own job, but how do they work together? How does the marketing team talk to the sales team? How does engineering get feedback from customer support? And finally, there's structuring authority. Who gets to make the final call on things? Getting this right stops everything from grinding to a halt and actually lets people make decisions. And a huge piece of this puzzle is delegation. When you don't delegate, you know what you get. Micromanagement, bottlenecks where one person has to approve everything, and painfully slow decisions. But when you organize well, it's the total opposite. You're giving people the authority to actually do their job. You're setting clear boundaries, sure, but you're also clearing roadblocks and setting up systems so everyone knows that they're accountable for. It's really about empowerment, not control. So, you do all this stuff. You hand out the resources, you define the roles, you get everyone coordinating. What's the end result of all that work? Well, you get something really important. You get structure. And this structure, it's the formal framework of the whole organization. It's way more than just a chart with names and boxes. Think of it like the company's operating system. It determines who reports to who can make what decisions, and how information moves around. It's that blueprint we talked about, but now it's real. So, what happens when you don't have a clear structure? This is the big question, right? Because I think we've all felt the pain when things are fuzzy or broken. What does that actually look like? Oh, the difference is just stark. Without that structure, you get that chaos we mentioned at the very beginning. People are confused about their roles. They're stepping on each other's toes. Communication is a disaster. But with a solid structure, everything flips. You get clarity, you get efficiency, you get real accountability. Honestly, it's a night and day difference. Okay, but here's a really important thing to remember. Organizing isn't a one and done kind of deal. You can't just set it and forget it. Think about that sports team again. They don't use the same formation for every single play or every single opponent, right? They adapt. And a business has to do the same thing. As you grow, as the market changes, you have to keep tweaking and adjusting that structure. It's an ongoing process. All right, we've gone through a lot here, so let's wrap this up by boiling it all down to the key takeaways, the big ideas I really want you to remember from all this. Takeaway number 1, structure enables strategy. Simple as that. Your brilliant plan is only as good as the organizational structure you have to execute it. Your structure will literally make or break your strategy. Number 2, organizing is an ongoing process. Your structure can't be set in stone. You have to treat it like a living thing that needs to adapt as the world around you changes. Bottom line, stay flexible. Okay, number 3. This is a classic management rule for a reason. Authority and responsibility have to go hand in hand. If you tell someone you are responsible for this result, you absolutely have to give them the power to make the decisions needed to get that result. If you don't, you're just setting them up to fail. And last but not least, takeaway number 4, coordination is just as important as the division of labor. Look, it's great to have a team full of specialists, right? An expert for everything. But if they can't work together, what's the point? Making sure all those different parts are coordinated and talking to each other is every bit as important as having the specialists in the first place. So I'll leave you with this one question, and it brings us full circle. I want you to really think about your own team, your department, your company. Is its structure, the way it's actually organized, built to win the game? Is it set up to make your strategy a success?